Hi, and thank you for checking out the Advisory Capital Broker Training Program. My name is Alex, and I'm the primary instructor for the program. In this video, we're going to talk about what is a private lender. Well, just to be clear right off the bat, in our program, we do work with institutional lenders and private lenders. That could be banks, that could be credit unions, and then there is a whole slew of private lenders that our organization works with. The most important thing to remember is that these are lenders, not investors. Now, what is the value of working with a private lender? Well, private lenders are motivated a little bit differently. Banks typically are motivated by depository accounts. Checking accounts, savings accounts, investments, things like that. Their goal is to always protect those depository accounts, and they might be motivated by different things. They also are very risk adverse because of how their money is insured and backed. Private lenders are a little bit different. In a private lending situation, most private lenders do not have depository accounts. In fact, the only thing they do is lend. That's why they're very motivated to work with commercial capital brokers, because they need you as an extension of their sales force to push the only product they have. They don't have money coming in from depository accounts, and they make their money from lending. You might notice that a private lender has a much wider or more broad set of lending criteria or credit box. This might mean they accept riskier credit scores, more aggressive LTVs, lower time in business, and lots of other factors that they take into account as a private lender. Private lenders are no different than any other institution though, and they lend money with the intent of getting that money back. This is very different than an investor who might take a chance on a business. Private lenders are still lenders. They lend when they know they will be paid back. How do they know when they will be paid back? They do this through their due diligence and underwriting, just like any other lender that you may have encountered. Now, when we talk about private lenders, it's as broad of an umbrella term as it is when we say a commercial loan. There are many different types of private lenders out there, and we will just take a look at a few to get an idea of the products that are out there that you probably haven't heard of before. The good thing is your clients will likely have never heard of these before as well. So for example, we've talked about this in other videos, but there are equipment-specific private lenders. That's all they do. They don't do private business loans. They do private equipment financing and leasing. General purpose. This would be private lenders that offer working capital loans, lines of credit, and this capital can be used for any business purpose. You see here, invoice and PO funders. Now, do you notice I went away from a specific word there? I didn't say lender, I said funder. If your client works on invoices, purchase orders, like most of the businesses in the United States, they might be able to leverage those in return for capital up front. So a very, very high level example of that would be your client issues a $100,000 invoice. They can go to a funder and get $98,000 immediately. So they have access to that capital up front. Now, the reason I am calling this a funder is because they don't lend money. It's actually a transaction of property. They are selling a tangible asset known as an invoice or a purchase order, or many other things they might be willing to fund in return for capital. This is a sale, and it is not an instrument of lending. This whole process of funding invoices and purchase orders is known as factoring. So if you've ever heard of a factoring group, maybe even a factoring lender, even though they don't really lend, or a factoring funding group, that is referring to leveraging invoices and purchase orders and various other assets in return for capital. MCAs are very similar in the sense that in an MCA, or a merchant cash advance, a business is willing to sell their future receivables for cash now. These types of lenders will typically look at credit card transactions, get an idea of how much monthly volume they do, and they will fund them based on future sales. This is obviously very risky to this type of lender, so the interest rates might be comparable to that type of risk. We also have SBA lenders. Now, you've likely heard of an SBA loan, or a small business administration loan. There's really no difference in the SBA product, regardless of if you're working with a bank or a private lender. However, you might see private lenders that are much more aggressive towards different types of SBA loans because that's their specialty. And finally, real estate. Now, as you've already heard me say in other videos, commercial real estate is a very broad topic, and it is no different in the private lending space. Because real estate is a tangible asset, it makes it very, very easy to leverage in lending. Because of that, there is a whole slew of products out there for commercial real estate. We have private lenders that do bridge loans. We have private lenders that do multifamily properties that do mixed use properties. You might even see some commercial real estate lenders that are engaged in capital stack financing. This is a type of financing where there is more than one lender involved. We might even have more than 2 or 3 or 4 lenders involved, depending on the size of the property and the size of the financing that is needed. There is really no limit to the amount of private lenders that are out there. I discover new ones every day as they ask to be a part of our program. What we really want you to know is that a private lender is no different than any other type of lender, and you might see that they become some of your best partners because of the products that they have available to you and the things that they're able to help your clients get into.